So is the stock market about to crash, as Permabear Jeremy Grantham always say so, and Diavis CEO has platformed? So let's have a look at the data. It's always a good place to start. Noticeably, Grantham didn't have any data to show you other than he's got an awfully bad feeling in his stomach. Now, let's go into some of these details of, well, what is a crash? How long do they take? What size of fall and duration do we mean? So let's have a look at some of these. And what we might call a crash. Well, obviously, a crash means a fall in the market, and we're usually referring to the S&P 500. So you would, I think, agree that a 35% drop is a crash when it's happened over a short space of time. If it's happened over 5 years, you might say a 35% drop isn't a crash. In a way, then, the terminology is not quite as important as the depth and the duration. So small depth, short space of time, you'd say a crash. Today the market dropped 10% in a day. Even if it rebounded tomorrow, you'd say that's a crash. So rather than trying to fiddle into whether there's crashes or not, let's actually just look at some of the steepest drops. And 28% over 9 months. So that's actually what we just call a bear market. Okay, could we get another bear market? What are the conditions under which we get a short, sharp pullback, and what are the conditions under which we get a bear market, and which is more likely to happen? Now, if what he's saying is you're not going to get a repeat of what's happened in the recent past, you're going to get something far worse, fair enough. You'd want extra evidence for that, because obviously what you're saying is it's something even greater than what we've ever seen. The problem with that is he, first of all, is talking about a outlier. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Gives very little basis for it other than the same basis he's given during all of these periods where, of course, the market has generated a 200% return. Now, you can't wish that 200% return away, that, oh, I'm going to be right eventually, because that's a return people have had. That's wealth that's been generated for them. So even if we were to have a crash and they lost half of that and only doubled their money, that is still money that they have got. Simply to say there's going to be a crash at some point in the future, and say it for the last 10 years, and he's been certainly saying it during the course of entirely this period, and it's going to be severe, and it's going to wipe everything off the face of the earth, does get the headlines. But at some point, as you get older and say it for long enough, you just start sounding like the crazy man outside Sainsbury's. So let's just go back into some more of these crashes so that we're not looking at just a small period. So that's 20% down. Okay, so we know a 20% to 30% drop is feasible. We know that it can happen over the space of a month. Okay, and we would call that most definitely a crash. That was COVID. Nobody saw COVID coming. And I'm going to come to that in a second and what it actually means, because you might agree that if a crash happens in a day, say 35%, but it rebounds the next day, then yes, you are right, it was a crash. But so what? Because it rebounded. So we need to define whether or not there's an increased likelihood of rebounding, and again, depth and duration. So a depth of 15%, depth of 30% over 9 months, these can happen. They do indeed happen. What else happens? Well, if by a crash we mean the financial crisis, which presumably he does, because we're talking outside the norm, that's why Grantham gets the headlines, then presumably we mean something like a 57% drop. Now, the fact that it happened over 18 months is neither here nor there. Okay, Alpesh, what happened over short periods of time? Well, 17% over 4 months can happen. That's just standard. At what point does it become a bear market? Well, if we say over 20%, well, that took 10 months. So yes, it's a steep fall. It's not nice. It's not pleasant, but we had 10 months. We didn't get this 56% drop in a day or a week. You had a long time. Now, you could say that makes it worse or it makes it better. It makes it better in that you had ample time and ample opportunity to gradually get used to the pain or get out of it or go into cash. Alternatively, you could argue it's worse because it lasted for so long and you didn't get back to where you were for 5 years. Now, I'm not sure which of these he means. Can they happen? Yes, they do happen. A 58% drop over that period. So what's the answer, Alpesh? Regardless of what happens? Well, I think the answer is, instead of trying to forecast what's going to happen, it's far better to say, when some of this happens, what are we going to do? Now, for me, the critical factor is, if we get what I call a daddy bear, we get a crossover on the monthly MACD, i.e. short and medium term prices are falling, then I look to exit, especially there. If it happens across not just one index, but across major indices and major stocks, what you might call bellwether stocks. So that happened in 2007, it happened in 2022. So that's the kind where you'd get out. Well, where are you getting out, Alpesh? Now, most people don't, because they've had a wonderful time up till then. So you're losing about 10% from peak to exit, which I can live with. And that happened in 2022. We're never going to get out at the top. But that's the pattern we'd be looking for. Why? Well, because where people put their money is more important than where they put their mouth. Grantham mouthing off makes no difference to anybody unless others move their money. What he's trying to say, which is very seductive, and obviously somebody like Diary of a CEO would fall for this, is because it gets eyeballs, is there's going to be a crash and it's going to be severe. My point is, yes, that could happen. I absolutely agree. We could get a 58% drop in the market. Why? Well, it's happened before. I don't have a crystal ball. Would we get it in a day? Probably not. Statistically unlikely. Could we get it over 18 months? Yes, that could happen. So what are the triggers? Well, such prolonged crashes, there's two questions to ask. Causes, what tends to be the causes, and what gives us some clue as to frequency of rebound? So let me answer both of those. Causes tend to be, if you think about it, the three main causes tend to be from the three parts of accounts of a company. After all, it's companies we're talking about, so you would expect the cause to be corporate-based. So what are the three accounts all companies have? P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow. So what's a cash flow crash? Well, COVID. Close all your shops, there's no cash coming in. What's a balance sheet crash? This. Your balance sheet on all those banks, the properties you own, the mortgage houses are not worth as much as you claimed they were. That's a balance sheet crash. Okay, all of a sudden everything gets repriced and revalued. What's a P&L crash? The dot-com bubble, right? You're not making any profits. We suddenly realized. Markets can continue on momentum as they did before the crash. So momentum can be, I know there's no profits, but the prices keep going up, so I'll keep going up. Or the balance sheet looks shit, but hey, everyone else isn't noticing, so what do I care? Okay, so that's the momentum part. Now, what I want to do is, let's go a little bit further. Let's look at the dot-com bubble, shall we? I was there. I was broadcasting on Bloomberg, March the 10th, 2000. Mary Meeker gives an announcement. Now, does the daddy bear rule help there? Now, I've published it in my various books anyway. Well, let's look at the depth of it from peak to trough. Let's call that the peak, and let's call that 50%. Oh, I think we'd both agree that is a crash. Certainly lasting over 2 years doesn't make it sound bad because it's 2 years, but then it does in that it's prolonged. How long did it take to recover? Well, that took 7 years before you got back. Could that happen again? Of course it could. Anything could happen again. However, here's the interesting bit. Did it take 7 years? Well, no, we had 4 years, 8 months of the market rising. So how long was it actually falling? That's the important bit. No, it was actually falling for 2 years, 6 months, 2.5 years. That's not nice. 2 years, 7 months. That's not nice. Okay, you might even argue, a bit longer, Alpesh, 2 years, 10 months. Call it 3 years. It's not nice. If you've got to hold cash for that period, that's not good. There were some stocks which went up. They were the minority, but we can put that to one side for a second. So 50% drops. Now, what would we do in that period? Well, first of all, I'd only going to have stocks to begin with, which are the type I'd want to buy more of if they fell, unless there's a daddy bear, in which case I'm not buying into a bloody daddy bear. Okay, what's a daddy bear? It's in the S&P. Falls like this. It crosses below. So what was the fall period during that? How much before you've got a clear sign there's a daddy? Okay, well, I would say, 8%? Maybe you're slow. Maybe you don't get out until it's about 15% down. Well, I'm pretty sure you're happy with that, because prior to this, and this is the nature of a crash, you had a 214% rise. So my point is, not calling the top, fine. Can it be a prolonged fall? Yes. What's probably the best exit? Daddy bear. When is a daddy bear worth looking at? Usually when not just the S&P, but multiple major securities bellwether stocks are falling at the same time. So let's go all the way back to this period. Okay, so what's going on here, Alpesh? Why was this a short, sharp fall, V-shaped recovery, where we care less that it fell at all because, hey, we made our money back, we've forgotten? Well, that was Iran, and where was Trump tariff? This was, Iran, 10% down. Trump tariff was 20% down. If interest rates are not rising and or bellwether stocks are not showing the same pattern, then it's likely to be short and sharp. Why? Well, because interest rates are not removing cash out of the economy and bellwether stocks are not falling either. So it's more likely to be short and sharp. It's diversified. So what was this then? What was 2022? Interest rates were rising and bellwether stocks were falling. So what about the others, Alpesh? Well, here interest rates weren't rising, they were falling, and bellwether stocks didn't all simultaneously fall, so it's short and sharp. Okay? What about 2008, 2008 and 2000? Interest rates weren't rising, they'd already risen. Bellwether stocks were falling. So it's either or. If you get both, then it also suggests it's prolonged. Otherwise, it's likely to be V-shaped. There you go. Well, Alpesh, that's just pattern recognition on limited historic data. The past is not a guarantee of the future. Absolutely correct. The one thing Jeremy Grantham forgot to mention, well, two things. One, there's going to be a nuclear detonation tomorrow, he forgot to mention, and the aliens are coming the day after. In my point being, anything can happen, yes. The past is not a guarantee of the future. However, there are some probabilities. How do we know certain probabilities in our existing state can help us? Well, if you want to learn more, look into hidden Markov models, which is an area of mathematics used by some of the big hedge funds like Renaissance Capital, which will give you some idea of some of the background, like interest rates, which are important to work out what's more likely, but also the state we're in. In other words, tomorrow's prices are not completely independent of today's. That's another reason why, whilst the past is not a guarantee of the future, it does have some probabilistic impact into the future. And that was what confuses people, is the probabilities bit. Guarantee means 100%, but it doesn't mean, because it's not 100%, they're independent variables today and tomorrow. They're not. They're connected. And that's what Markov and the hedge fund industry looks into as well. Anyway, I hope you found all of that useful. If you did and want to learn a bit more about investing and why we try to get it right more often than we get it wrong, and when we're right, we try to make more money than we lose. If we're wrong, we can be wrong. And you want to control your own pension and your own portfolio, then get in touch. The links are in the bio. The link is alpeshpatel.com. Thank you.